I love a challenge. So when I started music, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to stick to my language. They will like follow my lead. And then, and then as time goes by, I'm like, oh my goodness. And there's this lady who's, tell me what you're gonna do. I was like, oh, okay, maybe if I can diverse a little bit, just divert and be like versatile. And then I started writing in English, and yeah, it's working. It's getting there. It's growing in me as well. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm Adam. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
We know each other, Lizzie. We done our first radio together.
I think you guys have worked together.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, I appreciate everyone doing this. This is a podcast about the three of you, I guess, and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new music you've put out together.
Absolutely. We're excited.
Sweet. So let's start. Liz, let's start with you. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in KZN, Durban, in a small town named Umzumbe. And now I'm currently staying in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, still in South Africa.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what was that like?
Yes.
I mean, what's it like growing up there?
It's very nice. I mean, if you hear my music, it's all about me singing in my language. I'm so proud of being a Zulu woman. So growing up here in South Africa, in KZN, it's just amazing. It has inspired me a lot to be this Lizwi I am today.
That's amazing. And how did you end up getting into music? Do you come from a musical or artistic household at all?
Not really. I think I fell in love with music way back when I was still in primary, but I kept that as a secret. So when I was doing my first year in university, that's when I was introduced to poetry with rhythm. I started attending poetry session, and then I found myself buying my first guitar, I think around 2013. And I'm a self-taught basic acoustic skills. So from there, I started working with producers back at home in KZN. And then I met Gususa. Gususa remixed one of our track, Traveler. And that's when I was introduced to many, many Afro House music producers.
Okay. And how did they find you? How did you find this producer?
Sorry?
How did you find the producer? Like, how'd you guys link up? Was it online? Were you posting songs? Like, how do you then?
I was just at home and someone just played the song to them, and then they reached out via Facebook, and then from Facebook to WhatsApp to me recording with them, and everything else leads to this now.
Okay.
What you would find. So yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing. Well, okay. So Vine, obviously you guys twin brothers. So
correct. Exactly.
Similar upbringing.
Very similar. Just a bit.
So I guess how did you both get into music? Do you come from an artistic or musical household at all?
I wouldn't really say we come from a musical household. I would say we come from a household where our parents have always been involved in some kind of activity. So they've always been sort of out there doing new things. They've never, ever been kind of stagnant. For us, we got into music at a really young age. It started off in primary school. I played the drums. Darren played the piano. And we both are classically trained jazz musicians. So obviously grew up, reading and playing our instruments and kind of progressing in the school bands. Growing up in Africa, though, definitely influenced the type of music we listen to, even from a young age. We actually grew up in Botswana, which is a neighboring country to South Africa, and spent most of our life there before moving to Australia. And then when we got to Australia, which was in our mid-teens, just continued playing in the bands. And as we got older, it slowly went from playing instruments to, hey, we started going out, seeing festivals, things like that. And then we slowly got into electronic music through our experiences.
Okay. And did you both kind of get into music at the same, like growing up, were the two of you just always together? Like, were you able to be in the same classes growing up? I recently moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and I've noticed growing up, there wasn't a lot of twins around where I lived or even in my school and stuff. But here, there's just in my neighborhood, there's like 4 sets of twins. And some of them are in the same classes, like together growing up and going through same teachers and everything. And some will split up and have, 2 different paths as far as like education and everything went. Were you both in the same classes growing up, or like what was your journey together? What did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty much on the journey together from the very beginning. I remember Craig bought himself a drum kit when we were probably like, I'd say 10 years old, 11 years old. I got into music and we actually had the same music teacher. And it was cool because I played the piano, Craig played the drums. Our music teacher, Cedric, who was actually from Zimbabwe, he could sing. So between the 3 of us, we started like a little band when we were younger, and that's how we basically learned. So we were playing music in a band whilst learning at the same time.
With the music teacher.
With the music teacher, exactly. And then the rest is pretty much history. It started from there. We kept doing music together. We were in the same band at school, moved countries around the world, started DJing together. At one point, we started playing in the clubs. Then it got bigger and bigger, momentum, etc. And then it gets to the point where we decided, all right, we need to give this a go for a living. And, that's how it all kind of happened, basically.
Wow. And you said you all moved to Australia in your teens. What was that, like your family's job or something? What moved you all to Australia?
Yeah, so for us, it was just putting us in an environment which fosters amazing opportunities. Growing up in Botswana, I would think is honestly the best place in the world to grow up. We had the most amazing upbringing. Lizwi, you can obviously speak from personal experience, but we interacted with a lot of villages, with a lot of different cultures. Like music and culture and food is probably the best thing that comes out of Africa.
Yes.
There's such a sense of warmthness and togetherness. And so we feel so blessed to have grown up with African roots, because moving to Australia is obviously very different. It's a first world country when you compare it to most African countries. Everything works. There's no load shedding like we have in South Africa. It's very different, but we moved there for opportunities career-wise, like more than anything else, and to be closer to our family, because a lot of our family immigrated there as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay. How close were you, Lizwi? How close were you to where Craig and Darren grew up? Was that close or not really? Obviously you met later in life, but as far as where you grew up versus where they were, is that fairly close or not very close?
Not very close, but it's close, but it's not close.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Since I'm in Johannesburg, I think it's pretty much close. Yeah. So I think because here in Johannesburg, we also have people from Botswana. There's Tswana language people, like so many people speak Tswana here around me. So I can say the background it's more the same, because we all sharing our traditionals. They're also proud of their traditions. I'm also proud of them. So the combination is something amazing.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
Darren, you and Craig, did you grow up speaking English? Were you learning the language in Botswana when you lived there?
Yeah, so we learned the language at school, but our parents are South African born. So we speak English at home, and we learned Setswana when we were in primary school. We also learned a bit of French, not very good at French or Tswana either, because we predominantly speak English. But yeah, it was amazing to learn when we were younger. And we used to go all the time to Johannesburg. Like Lizwi is probably like 4 hours drive from where we used to live in Gaborone, and so super close.
Yeah.
Wow. And when it came to writing music, Craig, Darren, you guys were in a band together, it sounds like from the very beginning with the music teacher. And you played, did you say jazz? You guys are jazz musicians?
We grew up learning to read jazz music. And so we're classically trained, as in we can read music and we understand it.
Right. And then when you guys started playing music when you started a band with were you playing original songs, or is it mainly in the cover world? When did you start writing your own songs?
Yeah, it was actually a bit of both. So when we were in a band growing up, it was more like original stuff. We were when we were in high school, we were with these 3 guys, Max, Daniel, and Jonathan. And we were like just making our own original stuff, nothing to do with electronic music, actually. Of course, we played a bit of covers, but it didn't really become super original until we got into the electronic world of music, which was probably about 2017 that we got into, DJing and musical production.
Okay. Yeah, it's fascinating that being classically trained, shifting to more of the electronic sound and the DJing sound. Was that just something you said you went to festivals and stuff? It was just something you were drawn to?
I mean, naturally, just through life experiences, I can actually remember the first time that I really fell in love with electronic music was actually 2015. I was watching Black Coffee play at Shimmy Beach Club in Cape Town in South Africa. He plays there every single year. And
Wow.
it's funny, Lizwi, that you mentioned the song Traveler, because that was the first time that we actually learned about you as well, was that amazing vocal on that powerful song Traveler with Kusuza. And we heard that and it was like, wow, okay, this electronic space, it makes you feel things that maybe I would say traditional music does in some way, but it's different when you're in a nightclub with your friends and, you know, you've got these massive crowds. It's so surreal.
Like, to give some context to that, imagine, right, we're from Botswana, which is a pretty third world country, and we didn't really have nightclubs and nightlife experience, etc. So as we got older and we went to South Africa for the first time, we used to go on holiday like 20 times a year. And so we arrive in Cape Town and we see Black Coffee, and it's one of the first times we've ever basically been at a nightclub before. And so that was like our early, you know, inspiration of music and electronic music and seeing what it's all about for the first time.
Wow. Lizwi, did you have any similar experience as far as that went, as far as seeing like an artist, or like what kind of drove you to want to pursue music as a career path?
Yes, I grew up listening to the late Mambusi Mhlongo, who was very spiritual, very powerful. She was so ethical, I can say. She was so spiritual. And also I was very inspired by Black Coffee as well. There was a time when he was playing in Etumlazi. I remember I was in the front row. Like, I didn't want nobody to touch me because I was like, oh my goodness, like, the experience is something else. That's when I was like, okay, you know what? This is my life. I really need to focus on this, and I really need to master myself. You know, I really need to connect with my roots, because I believe that sorry, I think I just kicked my phone.
Oh, okay.
I believe that I believe with what's now I'm doing in the music industry, there's African chants that was inspired mostly with my upbringing. So my mom and my grandmother used to love to lululate, like to celebrate. So I was like, okay, me studying music, I'm celebrating my life. I'm celebrating them. I'm celebrating being an African woman. So whenever you hear Lizwi's song, I don't miss. You will find it. So yeah.
Love that.
When it comes to, you don't write in English, is that correct, Lizwi? So was that a decision that you had to make kind of early on? I mean, obviously you could speak English very, very well. So I'm just curious. Why did you decide on that?
I think, I love a challenge. So when I started music, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to stick to my language. They will like follow my lead. And then, and then as time goes by, I'm like, oh my goodness. And there's this lady who's, tell me what you're gonna do. I was like, oh, okay, maybe if I can diverse a little bit, just divert and be like versatile. And then I started writing in English, and yeah, it's working. It's getting there. It's, it's growing in me as well. So yeah.
And the three of you all met. What's that story? I want to hear how you all met. And actually, real quick, Darren and Craig, you guys moved. Did you move to LA? Are you in LA, or are you still in Australia?
We're currently in LA, but we actually have some plans in the coming weeks. We are actually relocating to Europe. So we're going to be based out of the Netherlands very shortly.
Wow.
LA is amazing. It's an awesome scene. But we just feel like, given Afro House and melodic house that we play, we feel that Europe is really suited to that style of music.
Sure. And what did you guys move to LA to pursue music? Like, was that like, okay, I want to get to LA, like this is the entertainment, mecca, so to speak, aside from, at least here in the States, like, Nashville or New York. Did you move to Los Angeles because of the industry there?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, we were in Australia. We actually tried to move to America in 2020. It was literally just before the pandemic. And so we came over here, we set up life, basically. We spent like 3 months here. And then in the very end, COVID hit. And so we basically decided to go back to Australia. And then we were there stuck in lockdown for 2 years, pretty much.
You're right.
And then last year when the world opened up, we came back here and it was for music. I mean, we basically realized that LA is just such a huge scene and we were doing well in Australia, but we weren't really feeling like we were getting the kind of international exposure that we wanted. And so we were basically chasing opportunity when we came here to LA, and it's now the same reason that we're heading off to Europe.
Very cool. I'm just curious on your end, Lizwi, like with the pandemic, how did, like, just because it's the whole world literally was stopped. I mean, everyone in the world was like on this lockdown thing. What was that like where you were?
Yeah, it was pretty tough. Like it was really, really tough for artists here in South Africa. And luckily they started doing these things where like you need to sign some form for them to send you money to live by, because we're no longer getting gigs, doing collaborations, we're just sitting at home,
Right.
It was pretty bad.
Wow. But you were able to get support through the government from those forms?
Yeah. The music support. Yeah.
That's
yes,
awesome.
They did try.
That's really awesome. I know like New Zealand and Canada are very big on supporting their arts, which I think is so cool. Those are the two ones that I can recall off the top of my head, where there's a bunch of grant programs and stuff that you can apply for that'll help pay for your albums and music videos. But, that's really cool that where you were in South Africa, they were doing that as well, as far as like supporting the artists.
They were trying.
Yeah. And I mean, I was in San Diego, just south of LA for most of the pandemic, and they could care less. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's so fascinating. So how did you all meet then? Was there a song that you guys, like, I know you have a record together, but like, how did that connection begin? Were you working on stuff prior to putting out The Light?
Daz, you want to have a crack?
Yeah, sure. So we were producing tracks, and we realized one day we were like, we need some amazing vocals on this particular track. And we literally reached out to Lizwi on Instagram, and we were so like pleasantly surprised. We got a response pretty much straight away. Super lovely to deal with, and it moved from Instagram to WhatsApp, and we ended up sending Lizwi the track. And Lizwi did an amazing job. It wasn't on this track initially. We've got another track together that we worked on. So we did one amazing track together called Nomatemba, and then we did another track called The Light, and that's pretty much it. It's been the most amazing interaction, basically, working with Lizwi so far.
And you said reached out via Instagram, and so Lizwi, did you kind of know their background as far as growing up in South Africa, and was that like a connection that y'all had together?
No,
I didn't realize that until later.
No, I think when they inboxed me on Instagram, that's when I was like, okay, there's Follow Fine. And then I started going through their profile. I was like, okay, you know what? I love their sound. It connects with me. So why not? Let's do this thing. And then from there, I feel like I've known them for like, I don't know. I think their work and my work, it's a duet, like that perfect
Agree.
duet.
Yeah, totally.
What's amazing about Lizwi, and this is something we talk about often, is we sent her a blank track, right? So we obviously produced what we call an instrumental per se, and we sent it over to Lizwi, and we said, hey, look, you've got full artistic freedom, and these were for both records. This is kind of how we approach working with vocalists in general. Is, hey, you're amazing, you're established, you're very intelligent and good at what you do. We want to give you a blank canvas that you can really express yourself in a way that you feel represents you. And, Lizwi doesn't just put vocals, she's a writer. She really creates beautiful melodies in the way that she sings, and everything that she touches is just gold. Even the other one, Nomatemba, they're both so special and so unique in so different ways. Obviously, The Light, the Light's coming out now, MoBlack, which we're so excited for.
Yeah.
But, you know, we always listen to her music and it's great. Whatever she puts out is always just awesome.
Wow. That's really cool. And then I'm sure, Lizwi, you appreciate just getting the song, right? Instead of them being like,
Yeah.
here's the song, this is how the hook goes, and then this, that, and the other thing. You just got the song and you got to write whatever you felt at the moment.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. It allows me to be free, you know, because I believe that music is a spiritual gift. So if a person allows me to be myself, you know, it brings out the best in me.
Yeah.
So both tracks are amazing. They're a very special piece of me, you know. So I'm sharing myself with their work. And so basically what I'm saying is it's us, we are inviting people in our lives, in our spiritual lives.
I love that. And you've got a bunch of records out yourself, Lizwi, as far as, I mean, you put out a bunch of music even this year. Is that something that you're always working on between your own solo artist project? Are you working with a lot of outside people as well, in similar form to this collaboration with Fine?
Yes. I just recently finished my album. I think it's 50-50 national and international producers. So it's amazing. Actually, I'm uniting both families, because I always say, like, I have a huge family international and a huge family in South Africa. So with this album, I know it's going to bring a lot of joy into people's life, you know. Yeah.
It's amazing. And did you write it this year, or has it been a project you've been working on for a while?
I wrote it this year.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't write lyrics down and then put them there, you know. I have to listen to an instrument and then write what comes at that time, the message that comes through that beat, the beat that I'm listening. If they send a beat now and I play it, and it'll be like, okay, the inspiration will come from the instrumental, and then I'll be like, okay, you know what, this is what I need to say, you know.
Okay. Yeah. And what about you both? Do you have I mean, obviously working with Lizwi, but when it comes to reaching out to other people and people to sing top lines, is that something that you do most of the time, or do you write? Are there other circumstances where you're like, okay, we're going to write everything and send it to somebody, or how does that work?
It's a bit of both, I would say. A lot of the stuff we've actually been doing kind of solo, because we were like in Australia in lockdown. It was kind of just me and Craig by ourselves for like 2 years, every weekend, basically writing a lot of music. But now we're at the point where we definitely were collaborating with a few people. So we've got some very exciting releases upcoming with vocalists such as Lizwi. We've got some tracks with some other Afro artists that are coming out, some remixes that have been done. So we're at the point now where we're definitely looking to collaborate, because it's such a good experience. And I think you can really take tracks to the next level in that regard.
Yeah. During the lockdown, you both were together. Oh, it's not, imagine, right? Do you guys live together? And are you all with each other all the time? As far as that goes?
We're pretty much like this in terms of how close we are. Like we live together, we've traveled together, we've now lived in probably 7-8 countries together. This is like, we're now moving again. I never thought we'd be moving countries. Like everyone who asked us, is LA the last place you're going to be? We said, absolutely. And now here we are moving to Europe again, but we're super close. Like a lot of the time people say to us, I've never seen twins that are closer than you guys, because we don't fight. We're like best friends. I think it's because we grew up in Botswana that we're this close.
we do fight. It's only human.
Right.
A little.
Sorry, what were you saying? It's because you grew up in Botswana?
Yeah, we were, like we were one of the few like white people in a predominantly Black country. For example, we were one of the few expatriates in Botswana. A lot of our friends growing up, they didn't speak English. We spoke English. And so we literally knew no one as a family when we moved there. And I think because of that, Craig and I were always kind of stuck together. It was like the two of us versus, not verse, but like two of us and then the rest of the world. And so we just became super close. Like we obviously went to the same school, same family, lived in the same place, played a lot of the same sports, had all the same friends. And so from the very beginning, we were just as tight as anything, basically.
That's so fast. I didn't think about the fact that, okay, because most of the time, you know, at least here in the States, you know, the African Americans are are a minority of people here, and like you're there and you're kind of like the only, you know, light-skinned people. Maybe, I don't know, that's just, you have kind of the same, maybe a similar upbringing to people here in the States that don't look like you know what I mean?
Totally. No, makes sense. Look, Botswana for us was the best upbringing we could have ever asked for. We couldn't be more grateful, you know?
Yeah, that's fascinating to hear. So when it comes to you all, are you like, is this something that you could potentially see as like a live show together? Like, you know, if you're doing a festival or something, bring out Lizwi or vice versa, or if like to actually perform the songs? Uh-oh, I think they froze. They froze on us, Lizwi. What about you? How do you feel about that? Like, is that something that you're interested in doing? And do you play out quite a bit in, you know, around where you are at in South Africa?
Yeah, it is my wish. You know, it is my wish to even like perform with all the producers that I've worked with. I always say, I wish my feet can land where my voice has traveled. So it is my wish.
I love that.
We missed the question. We had some internet issues there for a couple seconds.
Yeah, you guys froze. I was just wondering if you all had any plans to, you know, meet in person and perform live, or maybe even write some new music, not via maybe the internet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. So obviously we haven't announced this to really anyone on a major scale yet, but we do have a tour to South Africa planned for the end of the year. We're doing South Africa, Bali, and Australia for a couple of weeks over like December, like, you know, end of November to December and January. We haven't even spoken to Lizwi about how this would work yet, but we, you know, one of the things that we want to do is, you know, if Lizwi was available and she was around when we're playing shows, we obviously want her to sing the tracks live with us when we play them. We haven't really figured that out because we're still 6 months away, but absolutely when we're down there, you bet that we're going to try and make sure that we link up.
Lizwi, are you down with this? Are you going to come on stage?
Yes, of course.
There we go.
Make this happen.
I'm gonna write
This.
it down. I'll be like, okay, you know what? December, I'm available.
There we go. Love that.
See, it's there you go.
Easy peasy.
We're making plans. I love that.
And yes, we will absolutely write more music together as well. You know, we're in it for the long term.
Yeah, this is the first of many to come for sure.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate all of you doing this morning. I know it's early for Greg and Darren in LA.
That's okay.
I'm not sure what time it is in where you're at, Lizwi, but
I think now it's 4:30 in the afternoon.
Okay, there you go.
7:30 bars here in LA.
Here. So I have one more question. I want to get an answer from all of you individually. And we'll start with you, Lizwi. Do you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Yes, I would say you must invest in your craft. There's a business side in the entertainment industry and there's a talent side. So I think we focus, as vocalists, we focus more on the talent side, and then we just don't pay much attention on the business side. Hence, we find artists that are saying like we are not getting what we're supposed to be getting, you know, because we are not that much educated when it comes to contracts and all those things. So I feel like young artists that are coming up, they really need to look into that.
Love that. What about Craig, you and Darren? What's advice for aspiring artists?
Yeah, I would say for someone that's fairly new to the industry, it's very easy to get caught up with just wanting to focus on playing gigs. That's obviously one of the main things that DJs do, is obviously they perform. But I think sometimes music production gets overlooked a little bit. And I think, you know, one thing for Darren and I is that we're really locking in on our musical production. We're really focusing on just producing the absolute best music that we can, because you can play 100 gigs in 100 different nightclubs. But unless you've got your own voice and unless you're putting out unique music that makes you, you know, break through everyone else, you won't achieve the success that you want. So to anyone that's new and upcoming, really focus on producing unique music that will put yourself on the map. Because once you achieve that virality or something does really, really well, all the gigs will follow.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we were always told that the second we stop talking or someone in the team stops talking, the music has to do the speaking. And that's basically what it comes down to, is that if you don't get the world-class reaction from the world, then you need to do better. And so what it ends up is a situation where basically you have to be committed for the long term. And I think that's the biggest thing, is it's really a long-term game. Like we keep hearing it takes 10 years to like really, really make it in the industry. So basically it's either all or nothing. But if you're giving it a go, give it 110%, because it's been an amazing, fulfilling journey so far. So we're excited to just keep going and see where it ends up.
Bringing it backward.